feels really good to check that one off. Kind of a cool, like we were just here this morning and now we can come back again and pick up another species, so that's awesome.
The Pacific Northwest is a dream destination for both birders and explorers alike. In terms of birding, a major draw is the coast of the Pacific Ocean, that not only provides the opportunity to spot seabirds, but also shorebirds that frequent the beaches and rocky shorelines. On a trip to Washington, we took some time to look for some unique western shorebird species that are tough to find in most other parts of the country. We started our search for our first target bird shortly after getting off the boat from a pelagic.
We're actually back at the Westport Harbor because people reported Wandering Tattler here earlier. So we're just gonna walk around a little bit. The pelagic took a lot out of us, so we needed a little time to regroup. But now we're back looking for some more birds.
Wandering Tattler was a species of significance to us, as it would be a life bird. Additionally, we had the chance to possibly see one on the pelagic since we got to scan the breakwalls. While we found ruddy turnstones and surfbirds, and somebody said they briefly saw a tattler, we never got eyes on it. Now back at the same harbor where we started our pelagic earlier in the day, we began walking the breakwalls, hoping by chance a wandering tattler would be somewhere on the large rocks. Many birds were flying along the shoreline, including a massive flock of willets and marbled godwits, and an absolutely massive amount of pelicans. Suddenly, we noticed some shorebirds, including black turnstones that quickly took off, but appeared to land a little ways down.
Got some black turnstones, and we may have seen a wandering tattler. It looked pretty good for it and was gonna sit in a perfect spot, and then it flew around. So we're gonna move up and around so we have the light behind us, and hopefully that's it. Hopefully we get to see one.
Black turnstones are incredibly dapper looking birds, with a brown and black colored back and wings and a clean white underside. In breeding plumage, they have white markings on their face, while in non-breeding plumage they have much less extravagant looking facial patterns. They are birds of the western part of North America, breeding in the extreme northwestern part of the continent, and then spending the rest of the year all along the Pacific coast. Look for black turnstones in places with large rocks and strong surf where they love to roost and forage for food. We were excited to see the black turnstones, and after getting some great views of them, we turned our attention to a sound that we had been hearing from the other side of the breakwall. It was an unfamiliar bird noise, and we followed it all the way to our target bird.
Got our tattler! There was one hanging out in the rocks, and then a second one joined it, and then the black turnstones came to hang out. But it feels really good to check that one off. Kind of a cool, like we were just here this morning, and now we can come back again and pick up another species, so that's awesome. And I think it was vocalizing as well. So just a really awesome classic coastal species.
In breeding plumage, wandering tattlers have a grayish-brown back with a white underside. They have mottling on their face and chest, as well as barring on their tail. In non-breeding plumage, they are less mottled and striped, and look more smudged. All times of the year, they have a dark eye stripe and thick yellow legs. Wandering tattlers spend their breeding months in Alaska and northwestern Canada. During the rest of the year, they appear all over the Pacific coast from South America to the islands offshore, hence the wandering part of their name. The tattler part of their name comes from their loud chirping sound they make that helps alert all shorebirds in the area to potential predators. Wandering tattlers are at home alongside other shorebird species that like rocky coastlines, and they have no qualms about being right next to the surf. They will also turn up in areas that are more calm, such as lakes, wetlands, and even golf courses. We were really excited to find our lifer wandering tattlers, and without any other life birds to search for along the rocks, felt great about our short quest. Wandering tattler, really awesome bird to find. I think that's really the last of the rocky shorebirds for this time of year that we need, so we can kind of not worry anymore about these rocky habitats now that we got the tattler. Calling it a day at Westport Marina, we returned to the ocean a day later, this time at a different location. We're at Grayland Beach State Park now, and we are going to see if we can find some different gull species, different shorebirds. So it's very big, very expansive, and a lot of space to check out, but we're going to see if we can come up with any cool birds. Grayland Beach State Park is a camping and natural area with over 7,000 feet of ocean coastline. While it has many other habitats, we were mostly focused on the massive sandy beach in hopes of finding some interesting shorebirds. As opposed to a specific target, we just hoped for some nice looks at western birds we don't usually get in our part of the country. Right away, we noticed a huge flock of gulls and terns, most of which were just 2 species.
So it looks like most of the birds out here are Caspian terns and California gulls. And even though they're both pretty common, I do appreciate the California gulls a lot because we don't have them back by us. Caspians we do get, but they're still really cool birds to see, but those are definitely the 2 main species here. There's also a turkey vulture and a bald eagle flying over, but we're gonna see if we can pick up some shorebirds or anything else that's different.
We eventually noticed that in addition to these species, was a gull that was different.
There is one Heermann's gull in here, and they really stand out with the red bill and just kind of the gray body, whitish head. And it's pretty chill, but it was a nice addition to kind of the group of birds that we've seen. So I was just taking some time to appreciate that one as well. That's another, West Coast species that we don't normally see.
After checking out the big flock of gulls, we moved on to comb the rest of the beach. However, there was a surprising lack of shorebirds. This prompted us to slightly alter our strategy. The upper part of the beach is the area shorebirds use for breeding, in particular snowy plovers, which we were on the lookout for. Eventually, we spotted one of these adorable birds skittering around on the sand. Just had snowy plover in this upper part of the beach with all of the different grasses where it's a lot more dry than down there by the tide, and it was just skittering along, doing its thing, camouflaging really well with the sand, which it pretty much looks exactly the same tone as. So awesome to be able to enjoy the snowy plover on the beach in Washington. Snowy plovers are small shorebirds with a light grayish-brown back and wings and a white underside. During breeding season, they have black markings on their forehead, right by their eye, and on their shoulder. In non-breeding plumage, these black markings are either significantly lighter or not even visible at all. Snowy plovers are birds of the Pacific coast of the United States and the Gulf Coast of Texas, spending most of the year along the western shores of the US and Mexico. In winter, they can be found all along the Gulf Coast, from Texas to Florida. They also summer and breed inland, in some parts of the western United States. These birds can be found in open areas near the water, including beaches, sandbars, and even the shores of large saline lakes. They can often be found farther away from the water than most other beach-going shorebirds, where their camouflage helps them blend in with the light-colored sand. Snowy plovers feed by sight, moving quickly to pick crustaceans and invertebrates from the sand. So what do you think about this place?
It's cool. We saw a lot of classic western species. So the Heermann's gulls, seeing the California gulls, and then the snowy plovers. So we got a nice mix of western birds here. It is getting a little hot, so I think we're going to move on, but I think we had a pretty good stop.
Before leaving, we stopped to take a look at a pair of raptor species.
Had an iconic bald eagle sitting up on a stick with some pines in the background, and then a northern harrier as well.
After taking some time to watch the bald eagles, and the beach getting a little too warm for our liking, we went back to the car and drove a stretch of the sand. While we drove along the shore, we spotted an osprey, a very distant surf scoter, and a semi-palmated plover. After that, we left the park, moving on to our next adventure. The Pacific Northwest is a magical place to explore, and the birds in this part of the country are always fun to search for. We were excited to have the chance to see some interesting shorebird species on both the rocky shores and flat beaches of Washington. This state is one that we will have to visit again to see all that it truly has to offer. But until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.